So I love to share the how to. Most people do interviews about how successful entrepreneurs are and so on, but you have opened your heart and been willing to share. And I'd love for you to share with our audience how you and your husband got started in business. It is really an extraordinary story.
Oh, wow. Okay. So in 2002, right at the end of 1999, we decided that we wanted to relocate from the Virgin Islands. So we relocated to Atlanta without jobs. And we both thought it would be easy getting jobs because we had pretty good credentials. My husband has two master's degrees. I have a bachelor's degree in business management, and we had pretty good careers. Before leaving Ireland, we had wonderful resumes. And so we got to Atlanta, and what we didn't take into consideration was the country was about to go through a recession. And so employment was very hard. People were laying off from jobs. People were moving from bigger cities to Atlanta. And it became so competitive, with so many people that you're fighting to get jobs with. And my husband would always hear, "Oh, you're overqualified for this job. You're really overqualified for this job. You're more qualified than I am." And for me, it was difficult too. But it was such a dark place because you move with all this anticipation of things just falling in place, and you realize that wow, they're not coming together as quickly as you'd like them to. So I did find a job. My husband still didn't find a job. We even bought a home prior to all of this, And so, because we thought it was going to be bam, 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 all success, great resumes, well educated, great job experience. And it just never panned it out. So, in that period, though, it was very challenging. And I remember, my husband and I are believers. And so there was this song that Donnie McClurkin had just come up with, "We fall down, but we get up." And that became our anthem. And that's what sustained us during that period. And so we had one car. So my husband would drive me to work. He would go back home and fill out resumes, and it was online doing all these monster.com and all the different apps, um, platforms that they had for applying for jobs. And so anyway, that was a period in which for my husband, it cemented in him that that was the last time he was going to apply for a job from anyone. And that's where the entrepreneur spirit was birthed, out of frustration, out of feeling that your livelihood is dependent on others employing you. And so he decided he wanted to switch that script, and he wanted to be the one in control of his own financial destiny, as well as being the creator of jobs for others. So long story short, that's how we started. We truly didn't have any income. We left the Virgin Islands where we had a mortgage, we had a home here, and we bought a home in Atlanta. So, we're trying to figure out how we're going to do this. Thank God we were good savers, and we were able to grind our way through until at what point we decided Atlanta is not for us. It's too competitive. We can't find a job. And 6 months later, after our daughter finished school, we sold our house. And that was a blessing because we moved into a neighborhood where homes were still being built. So selling a house that you lived in for 6 months was like, ah, but God opened the door. Someone was moving from Florida, wanted a house that was already built, bought our house, and we were moving from Atlanta to Florida. And so the story began there. So as we moved to Florida, I was blessed enough to get the job that I had in Atlanta transferred you know, um, to Florida. And so my husband continued his journey. Finally, he was able to be employed by the state of Florida as a financial controller. And we still dug in for the entrepreneur opportunity. And so one of the things that we did while we were in Atlanta in that dark period is my husband, while I'm at work, would drive to different businesses because his mindset was, I don't want to recreate something that I don't know. I've never been in business. I want to do something that's already have a formula. So we thought about franchising. And so he would drive to different franchises and look at the customer counts, just park his car and look at how many people are going into these establishments. And so in our online researching, Subway kept popping up. And my husband said, how many people want to buy sandwiches? I don't think that's going to work. And so one day, I said to him, well, they have a lot of locations. People must be buying their stuff. So one day he did the same thing. He dropped me to work, went to the subways around the area that we lived, which was in Snellville, Florida. I'm sorry, Snellville, Georgia. And he saw all these people going into the subways. So he picked me up and he said, you are right. People are going to these stores. And so we started online filling out an application to become franchisees. And you know, when we continued on that journey, we were told that the market was already taken. And so we had an opportunity to do it in Tampa. And my husband was persistent on no, we're going to still keep plugging away at doing this franchise business. So we looked at a few others and we weren't that impressed. And one day we got a phone call from Subway and said, we've seen your application and we admire your persistence, because my husband kept sending emails. And he said, we'd like to interview you. And the rep actually lived in Florida. So we met halfway. We drove an hour and a half. He drove an hour and a half. We met in the middle. And interview went well. And he said, I really like you guys. So he said, we'll give you an opportunity in St. Thomas, even though there's a franchisee there. We kind of not liking their operations, so we're going to give you a chance. And that's how we started.